Again, welcome everybody to the May 21st, 2024 edition of the Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals. All members are participating remotely. That would be Greg Tanzi, myself, Rob Rosa. That would be Robert Baker Sr., Robert Baker Jr., and Mr. Stephen Galley. So on that note, I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
So moved. I need a second.
Second.
I got a second. Roll call. Mr. Tanzi?
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Mr. Baker Sr.?
Yes.
Mr. Baker Jr.?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Galley?
Yes.
Meeting's open. So before I read the legal ad, I just want to make a shout out to the assessing department, Rockland Assessing Department. Meg and Annette have told me that they like to watch our zoning board meetings. So I just wanted to make a personal shout out to them. Say, hey, ladies, how you doing? So there's that. And with that, I'm going to read the legal ad. 7:30 p.m. remotely conducted continuance public hearing will be held by the Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals on Tuesday, May 21st, 2024 at 7:30 p.m. on the petition submitted by Melissa McInnes and Dennis Espinoit, 421 Forest Street, Rockland, Mass. Scott Golding, Esquire, Dorian Taccio, and Morgan PC, 175 Derby Street, Hingham, Mass. For use variance pursuant to zoning bylaws section 415-89.1. Zoning variances and special permit pursuant to zoning bylaws section 415-29 and 415-89 number of buildings on a single lot to allow applicant to maintain the existing 758 square foot single family dwelling within the R2 portion of the lot and construct a 2,250 plus or minus square foot single family dwelling within the R2 warehouse storage building with accessory parking to be sited entirely within the I-1 portion of the property with proposed fencing and planted buffer area to provide enhanced separations between the existing dwelling and the proposed structure. The proposed warehouse storage building is to be accessed via an existing gravel driveway off of VFW Drive. The property is located in both the R2 residence zoning district, section 415-9, and the I-1 limited industrial zoning district, section 415-15. Of the zoning bylaw and is identified as lot 79, map 14 on the Rockland Assessors Maps. The owners of the property are Melissa McInnes and Dennis Espinoit, 421 Forest Street, Rockland, Mass. The applicant and all interested parties are advised to check the town website and the zoning board's webpage for additional information. Further details and plans for this project are on file with the town clerk and the zoning board office. So with that, I know. Let's see, we got a request for continuance. I have the letter. I'm going to read it real quick. Here we go. Application for variance and special permit 421 Forest Street, Rockland, Mass. Dear Chair Rosa and members, as you know, this office represents Melissa McInnes and Dennis Espinoit, collectively the applicants, owners of the property at 421 Forest Street in Rockland, related to their request for zoning variances and special permit. On behalf of the applicants, we respectfully request a continuance of the hearing on the application to the board's scheduled hearing on June 4th, 2024. The applicants request a continuance of the hearing as they are actively working to address comments from the board and neighbor related to the proposed project. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Very truly yours, Scott Golden. So, assuming that date works, Deb, I would entertain a motion to continue the public hearing to June 4th, 2024 at what time works, Deb? 7:30?
We have a hearing at 7:30,
So
7:40, 7:45.
All right, so 7:45. I would entertain that motion.
Rob, how many continuances have we given these guys?
Just, we haven't.
This is the first one?
This is the first one, because they withdrew the last time.
That's right. Okay. I'll make that motion to continue the public hearing for 421 Forest Street to June 4th at 7:45.
You got a motion. Mr. Galley, did you make that second?
No, did anyone say? I'll second it.
Okay, Mr. Galley made the second. So I need a roll call. Mr. Tanzi?
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Mr. Baker Sr.?
Yes.
Mr. Baker Junior,
Yes.
Mr. Galley,
No, no,
I
continuance.
think he's
All right.
sleeping.
I know, what's going on? You got a
I'm
wicked
awake.
stutter over there.
you can't hear me?
No, we can hear you. It's just that it's like,
Can you
it
not?
takes,
I have a bad
it takes forever for you to like hear everything.
Oh, oh. Well, I don't know. It could be my connection,
Okay,
but that was a no for me.
that was a no what?
I no to the continuance.
Huh?
You asked that do you vote aye in favor of the continuance or no one against the continuance? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just trying to understand what's going on.
Am I frozen? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just trying to understand what's going on.
Did you vote
All right.
yes?
Did my vote count?
Well, why wouldn't
I
it?
voted no.
But why, is there something I need to know what's going on here, Steve? Yeah, I understand, dude.
Do I have to vote yes? Am I required to vote?
No,
am
no,
I
no,
required
no.
to vote yes?
I want to know. I want to know if something's going on here. It just seems like you're very against this, and I want to see what's going. I want to see what's going on.
The last time, okay, but okay, the last meeting, they said, "Do we want to make a decision tonight or approve a continuance?" I said, "I'm ready to make a decision tonight." So when it was time to vote for the continuance, I said no. I've decided to hold a consistent position on that question. To me, I'm saying no. That's where I'm coming from.
Okay, all right. No, you
I
can.
mean,
You can vote, you can
if
vote
I'm
however you
mistaken,
want.
if I'm mistaken that I'm not allowed to vote yes or no, then please clarify that for me, because I'm
Whoa.
voting no, and I don't know if I'm required to vote yes.
Dude,
So
you're not
I'm voting
required.
no.
Steve, chill out, man. You're not required
I
to
am
vote any
chill.
specific
And
way.
wait, please do me a favor. Wait, I'm gonna ask you to pause. You asked me to vote. I voted.
Okay.
I don't see why it has to be a question as to why I voted once I voted. I think
Well,
we
I asked you if you
discussed
made.
the merits.
I asked you if you made the motion, and you made the motion. You seconded. You seconded the motion. Granted, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. Second the motion gets gets the meeting moving. So I'll second a motion. It doesn't mean I'm approving. I can make a motion to approve something I'm against. I can make a motion to deny something I'm in favor, which is, doesn't really make sense. But you can do that, and then someone can vote yes or no in the ultimate vote. So I second the motion to get the meeting moving because we wanted to make a motion and second the motion to keep it moving. I don't think that's inconsistent.
No, that's. I'm not
I don't
saying.
think seconding a motion
It's just with everything that you've been doing lately, it just feels like you're very against this, and it feels like you've already made a decision in your mind. So
everything I've done what?
everything that's
I've
been
done
going
what?
on, it feels like you've already made a decision in this matter.
I just decided I didn't want to do a continuance.
Okay, it is what it is. It is what it is. And again, you vote however you want. You vote. That's the point of this. You vote however you want. It's just
Okay, good. So how many votes in the future am I going to have to answer why I voted one way or the other? Now, I understand that when we're discussing a vote, we discuss the merits for and against something, questions we have. But I have not heard anybody say, why did you vote that way?
No,
on
I'm
any
not
other topic
asking you.
before.
I'm not asking you why you voted any specific way. It's just it's
That's the
feeling
question
like
I
you've
heard
already-
from you. That's how I interpreted your question to me. Why are you doing this?
Then you
I
interpreted
said, you said, vote for the continuance. I said, no. And then you go, why are you doing
interpreted
that?
it incorrectly, sir. I want to make sure that you have not made any
So
kind
what
of.
was, could you,
I'm trying to, Steve, but you've got a very, very lagging computer over there. I don't know what to do, man.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that I just don't want to think that you've already made a decision in your head as to how you're going to vote in the end. That's it. That's just what it's just what it seems like. So it's, if you feel strongly, no matter how you vote, just vote however strongly you are. You know, if you don't want to
Okay.
vote for the continuance, you don't. That's fine. There is no problem.
right.
I just want to make sure that you're not prejudiced on this in any way.
I don't know how I would be prejudiced. We're
That's my
going through
point.
the meeting. We're discussing the meeting. We're discussing the applicant. We're discussing our questions.
Just voicing an opinion, just making sure that that nobody has 100% made any kind of decisions in their head at this point. That's all. You hear where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, that's it. That's fine. That's fine. Continuances, the continuance goes through. So now let's deal with potential changes to zoning bylaws. We've been going over this for a while now. I know Allison has a whole bunch to kind of go through. Do you want to take that on, Allison?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thank you, Rob. So I've been working with Deb and Tom Rubel, the building commissioner, on trying to identify those spaces where, relief from the zoning code is required, and then kind of putting them in categories of which types are you guys having to hear the most often. And so this is kind of where that list is coming from.
Hey,
I'm
Allison,
trying to
just out
do
of
a little bit.
curiosity, are you running on mobile data or Wi-Fi?
I'm on, okay, pretend that I don't know what, I think I'm on mobile data. Why am I breaking up on you?
No, you're lagging out all over the place, and you're getting caught making funny faces.
Oh, sorry. It's probably because it's frozen. Not my face, the computer. It also could be frozen. I don't know, but I don't do Botox or anything. So let's hope that that's not happening yet. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I'm working with Michelle to kind of get a spreadsheet going so that you guys can actually see a data set that shows you, where the relief is needed. But generally the categories that you see in front of you, like dimensional requirements, minimum lot size, in the accessory apartments, seem to be like the primary issues that keep getting brought in front of the zoning board of appeals. So that's kind of where we're at. And we thought that we should flesh this out with you guys so that you guys could potentially make a recommendation to the planning board.
Sounds good to me. I've been saying that for a while about the R2 requirements for the lot area. It's gone up over the years, and I think it started out as like 14,000, I think, square feet per unit.
It was 10.5.
It was 10.5 when it first started.
Yeah.
Well, that's why that's why most of these R2s are 22,000 square feet and lower. So that makes it, that makes 100% sense. And it's, the square footage isn't necessarily what's driving it, I think, and that's why I'm not too worried about the square footage. It's always going to be the on-site parking requirements that are going to be kind of driving it, as far as I'm concerned. The access to access for and again, personal access. Do we have, what are we doing? Is it three per unit? Is it 3 spaces?
Yeah, your
per unit?
parking requirements are 3 off-street per unit, no tandem.
Okay, so that's, again, in a two-bedroom apartment, that's the potential, that's basically, it's one parking space per bedroom, and then one guest parking. So now you remember that's where that came from. But again, I don't think the overall lot area is a driving factor. it's more that it is the parking and making sure that you have that you have enough area for the required parking. Anybody else on this?
Yeah, I agree.
But most families nowadays have at least two cars.
Yeah, that's it. That's my point. Most families do have two cars. So and that's a minimum of two, and then and then we've got the third
It's
in
something
there.
for a guest.
Yeah, saying I wouldn't look to change that. I definitely wouldn't look to change that, but if it were possible and if everybody agreed on it, I mean, the planning board and the town and everybody, if they agreed to lower the square footage requirement, the overall lot square footage requirement, I don't think anything else would change. We wouldn't be changing we wouldn't be changing any of the side offsets. We wouldn't be changing the front offset. We wouldn't be changing anything other than that square footage. So if that were the case, then a lot of these R2 zoned, properties that, again, are single family, but could benefit from getting a second unit into the building as long as they fulfilled all the criteria that the building department has and they had the on-site parking. I don't know. I don't know why it has to be. I guess my question is I don't know why the lot area has to be so big. It's you can tell it was to kind of
Nail on the head with that, Rob, if you don't mind me. Sorry,
Please go
but
for it. No, talk about it.
I think if the goal is to, maintain that single family aesthetic and create opportunities for, generational housing where you could potentially have like a kid who's not ready or can't financially afford, like my kids, to go out on their own and buy their own single family, or you have aging parents that you want to be able to have, access to. If those are the goals, to let people, age in place or, have somewhere to soft land before they go out on their own, then our zoning like kind of contradicts that, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. And so
It
I
does.
think the whole idea of, and again, if you want to keep the parking requirement and the side yard, then I think that reducing that requirement of the lot size is probably the best way to get at all of those things.
I've been thinking about that for a while, saying it's anybody, and again, Mr. Baker Senior. Do you remember when it was that low? Do you remember? I mean, were you in town when it was that low? This was a while
Yeah.
ago.
Oh, yeah. It was still when I first went on the planning board,
Really?
and that was 40 years ago.
Okay. Well, you're the longest standing citizen on the board. What do you think? Basically reverting back to the original ones when you were on the planning board.
This wouldn't affect any PUDs or any of those type of projects.
No,
As
wouldn't
far as the lot size.
No, it wouldn't affect that because those have their own zoning, requirements and stuff like that. The only thing that I would look at is our current lot size, our current, single family lot size is 32,000.
You have to have an acre and a half.
So no, for the current R2, you have to have an acre and a half.
Right.
But the current single family is 32,670, correct?
Yeah. No,
So
no.
what's the current?
Yeah, 32,670. So a
32.
two R2 would be 64.
Right. So 32,670 divided by 2. So basically we did, if you took the 32,670 and divided it in half, that's 16,335 per unit. And at least it keeps the minimum lot size, the minimum normal lot size, 32,670 square feet. I don't think it gives this, I don't think it gives the relief that you really want. You know, because you can't, you can't, I'm looking at this and thinking that you can't bring down, you know, specifically the R2 area without looking at the overall square footage of a regular house lot, but I don't know. I don't know how to, I don't know how to look at this, because when you look at, let's see, you have to look at the overall for the R2s. Let me just get the zoning map up. That is my zoning.
There
I
is,
mean, I'm also happy to put together like some data sets for you guys, some spreadsheets with like the current zoning, you know, what the implications would be if you reduce them back to revert back to the original zoning lot size requirement. And then you'll have like a visual aid to kind of walk us through this conversation a little bit.
Yeah, it's just, it's really, it really does look like, you know, you're coming down to just the areas that are in R2, and believe it or not, look at that.
it's not a lot, is there?
No, R2 is substantial. I'm gonna share this real quick. Hold on. All right, you guys see that?
There we go.
There we go. All right, the turquoise is your R2. All right, so you got RD and you got R2 up on the, you know, everything behind Shingle Mill. All French, you know, French Road, you know, all the left and right of Pond Street up there. A decent amount of Hingham Street. Hingham Street's got some deep lots. Yeah, most everything up in Forest Street, you know, because we're dealing with that 421. Everything on the south side of Forest Street, which is an R2, is half the size of any of a normal lot. So there's not a ton. I mean, again, you got R2 all within the Belmont Pacific Reed area. Those are super small lots. You know, everything Wyman's Field, everything over in Wyman's Field. Oh, I didn't even know that. I'm in an R2. Okay, that's cool.
Don't even think of building up.
No, I wouldn't. Please. Please. I don't have enough area to get the driveway in. So it feels like it would be nice to be able to it would be nice to be able to do something when it comes to these R2 properties that, for whatever reason, the lot size just kept going up and up and up and up, and now it's impossible for any of these R2 properties, zoned R2, to really get what they want, which in most cases is a second unit. But on the flip side, again, with all the ones that, you know, all the lots that are in the Belmont, Pacific, Reed Streets, you know, everything that's up on Carey Street, all those lots, you really wouldn't even be able to get the parking requirements. So if we're able to give them some relief somehow by the square footage, and if by some way they're able to get the parking up there, then maybe you change the minimum lot size, you change the minimum lot size for an R2, which is still 32,670. That's the minimum lot size. But the minimum per unit goes down to, what was it originally, Bob? You said it was 10 something, 10.5?
10.5.
10.5?
Yeah.
Well, maybe you know,
And
maybe
that's when,
12.
that's when all the big developments started coming in, the housing developments in town,
Okay.
back in the late 80s and 90s, and most lots were anywhere from 10 to 14.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you look at the original, like the actual lot sizes, they're not even consistent with what the minimum lot size is calling for in the zoning code. So you're coming kind of from behind the eight ball there.
Oh, yeah, no, everything over in those, again, the areas that I'm kind of highlighting, the Belmont Pacific Reed areas, everything over in Wyman's Field. Yeah, those are all they're all pre-existing non-conforming lots, and they're probably half the size. You'll be
They're only,
like,
they're only 10.5.
yeah, that's
Oh,
exactly.
fuck,
I was
yeah.
gonna say you'd be lucky to get 12,000 square feet out of them. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how to deal with it because the ones that the R2 properties that could benefit from a reduced per unit square footage to like, again, I'm just throwing a number out there, say 13,000 square feet. That makes the required lot area for the minimum required lot area for an R2 for a pre-existing non-conforming R2 to be, say, 26,000 square feet. And that's just math. I mean, I'm going with the math because again, the current size, the current size, minimum lot size for an R2 property is 32,670 square feet. So, I don't know, Greg, talk to me. You're the other guy that has to deal with this on a daily basis, so
Yeah,
I don't know how to deal with it, man. You know what I mean?
yeah, I do know what you mean. It's I don't know, a non-conforming lot is always an awkward thing to deal with, and I don't know how you can 100% remove subjectivity out of the equation.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know. I really don't have an opinion on it, to be honest with you.
I just don't, I want these R2 properties to stop trying to come to us to get, either a use variance or some kind of, or dimensional variance or something, because we can't do it. We've never done it before. We've never done it before. We're not into setting precedent like that.
No, no. I mean, I don't have too much of a problem with given a dimensional variance to a 10,000 square foot lot that is trying to meet a 50-foot setback requirement or something like that, when they and that really wasn't the intent of the um, bylaw at the time.
You brought up just not to butt in too much, but you brought up the 50-foot rear offset. That's something else I think that we need to look at.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree there.
Okay.
Because it just does not make any sense to hold a 10,000 square foot lot to that 50-foot rear setback.
Right.
That was not the intent of of the bylaw, or when it was written.
No, because we
I mean,
still
because
have to
that would mean that somebody can't put a deck off the back of their house.
Mhm.
That's ridiculous to prevent somebody from doing something that's um, non-intrusive.
Well, can I suggest that we jump off the square footage and go to the rear offset end of it? This might be an easier one to kind of, nip and kind of come to a conclusion on. Most
Excuse
towns
me,
that,
Mr. Chairman, before you do, could I ask a question?
sure, please.
Do I, well, what is the goal? What is the purpose in trying to or talking about suggesting, or we want to phrase it, reducing the minimum lot size in an R2?
Well, it's reducing the minimum square footage requirement per unit. Because we continually have these R2s, R3s, R4s come to us to, they want to take their home and they want to, make it a two-family.
Right.
Well, it's an R2 allowable in the zone, so they can't ask for a, so let's say that, again, what were we dealing with, Deb? What was that address that we were just recently dealing with? They have the legal in-law, but they wanted to turn it into a legal set two-family.
Center Ave.
All right, Center Ave. We were dealing with Center.
Yes,
The legal, they have a legal in-law apartment, but they wanted to turn the whole house into a legal two-family, so 2 units. It's allowable in the zone, but because we require 32,670 square feet per unit, you need 1.5 acres, so they'd never get it. Well, if we were to lower that, they would be able to get it. They had enough parking on this, they had enough parking on the property. So it's these kind of places that I'm looking at going, well, they are in R2. It is allowed, but because over the course of time, that square footage per unit, that per unit square footage kind of got out of control. I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, it got out of control. It was somebody's attempt at trying to curb two families, in the town. I understand. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but with all these 40Bs that keep getting shoved down our throat here, I'm wondering if there's a way to, I don't know.
Now, when you were going over the map, I understand you correctly to say that R2s in various parts of town have different lot sizes?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely. Let me show you. Let me share the screen again, just to give you the visual on it. All right, you got that?
Yep, thank you.
Hold on. Let me just zoom this in. It'll take a couple seconds because it's a big PDF. All right, again, that turquoise color, that's
Yep.
all your R2s. See how right in here, you got very small lot sizes. The further you go away, you got longer, deeper lot sizes. Same thing over here on was that Salem? All on the southwesterly side of town. No, northwesterly side of town, but the southern side of Salem Street, and everything's like kind of deep lots. So all the overall lot areas, there's no average. There's no way you can come up with one average that's actually going to fit everything. But by the time it's all said and done, I wouldn't want 2 families over here, over in the Corn Mill and the Woodsbury Road, because that's all 40B anyway. I don't know how many 2 families you'd want in this center section here in the Belmont Pacific Reeds, because there's not a lot of room anyway. And you know what's going to happen? Everybody's just going to keep parking on the street, and it's going to make it awful over there. The only place that this could really benefit from it are those larger pieces of R2 property that have enough square footage to cover the parking requirements. So it's definitely not everyone. There's no way you'd be able to satisfy everyone, but the ones that do have enough area to cover the parking, I think that helps. I honestly, I don't know. It's just that it's something that I've been thinking about for a while.
Well, one of the things that I would mention about the parking, we had mentioned 3 spaces per unit, right? So that's 6 spaces. I don't think you'd want 6 spaces right in the front lawn of a two-family. From an aesthetic standpoint, the front yard would be a parking lot, and that's really not in harmony with the residential zoning, in my opinion. They could put a 2-car garage on each unit, so there's four spaces or 4 parking spaces that are enclosed.
Yeah, but we're talking about pre-existing.
Yeah.
That's it. That's where I'm trying. I agree with you, Greg. I absolutely agree. I'm trying to think is there a way to help the pre-existing side that's, struggling because the overall lot area, just kept getting increased. So now watch this though. Here's the other thing. I think we've been, I know we can't directly use this, but I mean, I know we've looked at, when it came to, who was it? Plain Street, that 2-family that was on Plain Street. There was a question as to whether the abandonment and all that stuff. Well, they were a pre-existing non-conforming when it came to the square footage, but there was still a 2-family. It was still a legal 2-family. Somehow, some way, it got created. So we were able to look at it and go, yeah, well, what was the required lot area when the house got, turned into a 2-family? So we were able to look at that. I don't think we can look at that for anything else. Again, some of these lots, when they got created, they were conforming. Or they could have been conforming.
Yeah, but a lot of people, I mean, a lot of these issues with the 2-family, maybe at one point they were 2 families that predated zoning, so they were conforming in that respect. And then at some point, the house reverted back to a single family, or one side wasn't rented out because the homeowner didn't want to deal with tenants and noise or whatever, and then they want to try to make some more money, and then they come back and they want to resume the 2-family status, and that's been an issue.
See, that's another place where I'm going, Greg. It's all these illegal apartments that we got going on. Is there a way to allow these illegal apartments strictly because they haven't gone through the building department to make it a 2-family, and in relation to the zoning, it may be in an R2, but they'd never be able to get it because of the square footage. I'm just wondering if there's a way to help cure some of these illegal apartments, turn them into legal apartments somehow, turn them into legal apartments and increase the tax rate on some of these houses. It's there's a million different ways to look at it. I just don't know how to do it.
Yeah, I don't know if that would count towards our affordable status.
I would love it if it could. I don't know how that came into play. And before I forget, Mr. Baker Jr., I cut you off in the middle because I wanted to give you a visual, and you still had a question. So I'm sorry, sir. Where can we go with that?
It's a comment more than a question. I mean, given if you forgive the expression, the variance in lot sizes within the R2 zone, how do you say to some people, and these are people who went into the purchase or acquired ownership knowing the limitations or should have known the limitations on what could be done on their property. How do you say to some people, well, yours is just too small to do anything with? but say to a whole bunch of other people, yeah, we can work with you.
Because
Well-
I'm thinking because of the specific parking requirement. You know, it make the, it would be it would be for the R2 situation or the R3 or R4. I mean, it's really just, it's the per unit square footage requirement. So if there was a way to decrease that across the board for R2, R3, R4, but still maintain the parking requirement. I mean, you're not, what are you doing?
Why couldn't we have it, 10,000 square feet per unit across the board?
I don't think that's a bad number. I don't think that's a bad number.
They'd still have to meet the requirements of the parking.
Yeah, they'd still have to meet the requirements of the parking. This is only for pre-existing non-conforming lots. Any lot that that gets created currently, the minimum lot size is 32,670 square feet. That's the minimum lot size for any residential lot right now, any new lots. This is we're only looking at pre-existing non-conforming lots, or if a lot in the R2 zone gets newly created and it has 32,670 square feet, you should be able to get 2 units in there.
Right.
You know, assuming you got the parking requirements, which on 3/4 of an acre, you should be able to come up with those parking requirements. So it does work for new units. You know, again, for the R2, for the R4, there's not to, technically, we already we kind of already went over this. There is no R4 in the town anymore. Did anybody know that? Alice and I went over this when they changed the only place that was an R4, and Bob Baker Sr., we just double checking on this. The only R4 that we had was up in Southfield. It was in the base. There is no more R4 in the town, so we've still got it on the books as being a zone, but there is no R4 zone anymore. So basically the R3, that's a lot, was R3 multifamily, or was R4 the only one that was multifamily?
R4 was.
R4 was the only one?
Yeah. They put that in the Southfield when the original legislation.
Yep, single to multi. So if that's R2, if that's R4, R3 is still single and 2 families. So we don't have other than, and Allison might have to double check me, Deb could probably double check me on this too. The MBTA zoning, we have multifamily in there, right?
We do. We have multifamily as of right.
All right, so we still have a zone that has multifamily. So that's not not bad. But right now, R2, R3, they're 2 families and that's it. So I mean, you'd only be looking at anything for a 2-family anyway. So, and if you can come up with if there's a pre-existing non-conforming lot out there in the R2 zone that has 20,000 square feet, is currently a single family, if you have the capacity or the capability to turn that house legally into a 2-family, if you have enough area on the lot for 6 parking spaces, that works, right? By right? I don't think it doesn't seem like it's gonna work. But
Right.
if it can, I mean, you can't say it's not gonna work until you see it on paper. You know, and then quite honestly, you'd have to see it in practice, but if it can be proved on, if it can be proved on paper, then it should be able to work, but I don't know of any. I don't know if it's gonna work. I don't know if it can work. I'm trying to figure out how to cure some of these illegal apartments and the people coming to us looking for use variances and dimensional variances on square footage for a two-family. That one on
Rob,
Center Ave- no, sorry.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt. One thing that, I mean, if we were gonna go down this road, we'd want to make sure that we have some type of a definition of what a pre-existing illegal two-family is. For example, we get a lot of homes that have these, two kitchens in them.
Mhm.
They're old kitchens. There's evidence that they were at one time a two-family resident. Whether or not it was, you know, before zoning or at about the time of the zoning or shortly, maybe a decade after zoning came into existing, but so they've been illegal for 40, 50 years on and off. That's really the type of thing that we're targeting. What I wouldn't want somebody to do is to take a single family and then convert it, throw another kitchen in it and say, well, I've got an illegal two-family. I want to convert it to make it a legal two-family, when there's no long-standing evidence of it ever being used as a two-family.
Well, yeah,
You
we're
know,
going in a different direction. I understand where you're coming from, but I don't care if it's an illegal two-family at this point. I'm trying to give these illegal two families the ability to become legal.
Right.
If one of the main reasons that they can't be legal is the square footage.
Right. But what I'm saying is, let's say I have a single family house.
You do.
It's on, I've got 21,000 square feet on my lot.
Yes.
And it's a single family. It's always been a single family. And I
Yep.
want to get two families out of it. So I make it a two-family house. Now it's illegal. And I'm saying, well, hey, I can put the parking out back. I can get 6 spaces. I've got adequate parking. I've got more than enough land area. But it was never a long-standing illegal two-family residence.
But that doesn't matter. I'm not only targeting those. It's the
Well,
longs.
what I'm saying is I would want such a situation precluded from the bylaw, because it's not really an illegal, when we're saying an illegal two-family residence, we're really talking about a two-family that kind of slipped through the cracks one way or another through zoning. It was either it either predated zoning, and it was never officially established, or it was created shortly after zoning and it's been illegal ever since.
We're
But
talking about the houses that finished their basement. We're talking about the houses that illegal finished their basement and brought somebody in and started renting. All right. That's the illegal that we're talking about. They purposely did this. All right. This is not something that slipped through the cracks. This is not something, it has nothing to do with it. I'm just looking at specifically R2 or R3 properties that can have the area for the required parking, but yet are deficient in the overall required per unit area to give them the ability to be a legal apartment. You know, it has nothing, I'm not trying to make a benefit, or I'm not suggesting any kind of benefit to an illegal apartment. It's just, I'm looking at all of these pieces of property that are in the R2 zone that have the ability to become a two-family if it works for the neighborhood based on the parking requirement. You know, it's just, it's definitely, it's a hard road, it's a hard road to travel, because, and I'm gonna put this back up here because I wanted to make a specific, let me see. Let's see, where are we?
There's benefits for this too,
There's a lot of benefits. I mean, here's I was
because
gonna-
the tax,
I was gonna look at Greg,
Right.
all right, look at Greg's house specifically, thinking, because I thought he was in an R2, but he's not, he's an R1. But there are properties in the French's Crossing subdivision that are R2s. All right. If this were to happen, and some of those pieces of property, I mean, I still don't know I don't know what the overall lot sizes in French's Crossing are. I still think they're less than 20,000 square feet.
like 8, 5, 9, 10.
French's Crossing, really?
Yes,
Oh, wow.
that was a PUD.
That's right. Well, so was Millbrook, and I know Millbrook had one of the smallest sizes on there was like 12.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, it wouldn't work in there. You know, it definitely wouldn't work in there. So I don't know. I'm not trying to save any, you know, to save any of these illegal apartments or anything like that. I'm just trying to give them some sort of vehicle to become legal. So if you know, so it's basically, so it gets it off of the illegal apartment list, and then all of a sudden the town's able to generate a little bit more tax from it. Has nothing to do with illegal. I don't mean to, if it sounded like I was kind of like targeting that, that's not what I was doing. I just know the town has a ton of illegal apartments, so, I still feel we didn't finish Mr. Baker's, point.
well,
No, I'm talking the other bit.
oh,
No, I'm fine for now, thank
You're
you.
good at this? Okay, I want to make sure it was covered. And I just don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it and be clear. But like I said, like Bob Senior said, if you make it 10,000 square feet per unit, if you've got an R2 property, that's 20,000 square feet, and you have enough land area to get 6 on-site parking spaces with the required 10-foot buffers left and right.
could we put a stipulation that they could not come for any dimensional variances or anything?
When it comes to,
They got the 20,000 square feet,
yep,
but the addition's gonna put it only 40 feet away from the rear lot line. So
Bob,
that
I
means,
hear
when
what
it's
you're
all said
saying.
and done so
Right.
you're saying like if they're gonna bump out if they're gonna bump out the footprint,
right,
I don't know if you could do
no,
that.
because then we're gonna end up in the same predicament with a whole bunch of hearings.
Well, I get what I hear you. I think, would it be helpful if I looked at some other municipalities to see, like, similar zoning with what I think you're trying to get at? And then we can do like a compare and contrast.
Yeah, we could definitely do that, but I just, to get back to what, Bob Senior was saying, even if they weren't trying to put in a second unit, if they were bumping out the back and were less than 50 feet, they'd have to come to us no matter what. Saying that it's, as long as so let's go with what you were saying. They want to put an addition on the house that is going to require, let's say, a rear offset variance. Well, they're making it, that's a self-imposed hardship. we don't grant those. You know what I mean? It's a self-imposed hardship, we don't grant those. If the house is already less than 50, we've granted that we've definitely granted a section 6 finding in the past.
Right, French Road.
Yeah, and we have something in the bylaw, we have a part of the bylaw that says, I think it's somewhere in the 110 rule area, that you can, it's 1 foot for every 10 feet, you're less than the 110 feet requirement. But in no case shall the minimum offset be less than 8 feet. Does that sound right? By the time that's all said and done, if we start looking at that and start applying all of that, the house and the addition is gonna bust the max
Right,
building coverage. So by the time that's all, there's definitely parts that need to be that need to be looked at. I don't think on like a 20,000 square foot lot, you're gonna have to worry about that, but again, who knows? That's why zoning has to be a living document and not something that's just set in stone, hard, fast. All right, Allison made a good point. She's gonna look at, and she's gonna look at some other communities, kind of makes it, make a spreadsheet. I did. Oh, where'd you go, Bob? I thought you fell down.
nope,
Okay. The rear offset, I can say that if we just, table the square footage thing, the whole rear offset end of it, I can say this. Town of Braintree, town of Hingham, we're looking at a front offset, a side offset, a rear offset. The side and the rear offset are typically the same number. We've got a 50, Hanover has a 40 rear offset. I don't know why it has to be so, I don't know why that has to be so deep. We have a 15-foot side offset. I don't see a 15-foot rear offset being offered. I do think that we have to look at the accessory dwelling, the accessory structure offsets. The whole 5 foot, the 5-foot rule. I hate that. The putting a garage 5 foot off the line. And it just doesn't seem right. That's something that I'd like to look at. But offsets, rear offsets. Let's talk rear offsets. What's everybody's thought there?
Oh, in the R2 earlier, I was thinking the same. The 15 feet might be a workable number. I mean, even
And
before
I'm
you
talking
brought
for
that
any
up, that's
residential
the
zone.
number that popped into my mind when we were initially talking about the 50-foot offset. But that's for an undersized lot. That's for like a 10,000 square foot.
No, that's for any lot. That would be any residential lot. The minimum rear offset goes to 15, which is the side offset for any residential lot. That whole
Even in an R1?
Of course, why not?
15 feet?
Why not?
No.
Why?
I think 40 feet is excessive.
You wouldn't have any backyard. You have 15 feet.
What if they don't want a backyard? What if they want their backyard?
Go to
to
a
be
condo.
Mr. Miyagi house.
Go to a condo.
Well, no, here's my argument with the 15-foot setback in an R1 is it's going to impact the privacy of an abutting lot, or it has the potential to.
You're going to be peering in your neighbor's windows.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably get away with a 30-foot.
I still think that's pushing it, but whatever
I mean, for an R1, I mean, for these smaller lots, it makes sense, but I think 15 for a rear setback isn't enough for the larger lots. I don't think anybody would really want to put their house that far back unless they had to do so. I mean, my lot is a weird lot. My lot is pushed back way off the street because of wetland issues. In my hypothetical backyard, my setback off of that is only 35 feet. But that my rear lot line by zoning definition is not a real lot line. It's another leg to my sideline. And my real lot line is out in the woods somewhere, 120 feet. And so I meet my 50-foot setback in that respect. But on a practical level, my house that I'm living in, and you know my house, Rob, that's like a 35-foot setback.
Off the rear,
Well, off what appears to
off
be
the rear that's parallel to Beach Street.
correct.
Yeah.
Which by definition is not a rear lot line.
No, it's a sideline.
Right. Otherwise, my house would be non-conforming.
You also have a section of R2 that goes through your property, so.
Yeah, I do.
Do you want to put a
There is-
two-family on your property now? You have the parking.
No.
So there are some things that I'd like to look at, and again, the rear offset is one thing. I'd love to mimic the other towns. The other thing that I didn't say about Hingham, for their R1s, R2s, and R3s, there's different zoning offsets for each zone. They don't have they don't have 1, 2, 3, they have A, B, C. C is the most restrictive, whereas A is the most permissible. So in A, you're looking at, I think it's 20, 10, and 10. At B, you're looking at 25, 15, and 15. And C, you're looking at 35, 15, and 35, 20, and 20. So their sides and their rears are always corresponding. Steve, you got a question?
Yeah, just based on what you were talking about, A, B, and C. And the one thing I was thinking about when we're talking about the rear setbacks, I'm thinking about the privacy we were talking about.
Mhm.
Could we have a revolving rear setback based on the height of the residence? Like, I would think privacy would be less of a concern for a single family house that's 30 feet from the rear than a 2-story house that's, 30 foot from the rear. You can see less if you lower to the ground. Is that possible to have that kind of flexibility?
It is, but that turns.
I think
into a
privacy is my
mathematical
first
equation.
thought. Well, yeah,
That's the only problem, and
we have equations like we have equations with the 1 in 10 rule.
yeah, but that's self-explanatory when it really comes down, because you're gonna need to calculate height of houses.
Yeah.
And that means that, let's just say, myself as a land surveyor is gonna have to go out, and I'm gonna have to get on somebody else's piece of property that I don't have the right to get onto to measure their house. It turns into
So what's the point of what? All right, what's the goal of the rear setback? What's the purpose of it? Is it to protect privacy? Is it to have them have a yard to play catch in? Like, what is the purpose of the rear setback? What are we giving residents by protecting a rear setback?
I have no idea.
What's that?
Somewhere to put a swimming
Okay,
pool.
so can you build a swimming pool, an in-ground swimming pool in that spot?
Well, yeah.
Is there a restriction there?
Setback is like 5 or 10 feet or something.
Yeah, and see, that's where it gets weird. A garage, you can put 5 feet off the lot line. I think the pool,
Yeah.
you can put 5 feet off the lot line, which I don't think you would. I think the pool has to maintain the structure offset, which would be 50 feet. So it's like,
Above ground pools have to be 15 feet off the property line.
yep.
Mm.
because I got in a discussion with my neighbor.
Okay. So would that be a question for Attorney Galvin? Who could answer the question what the goal of the offsets are?
The only
has
goal
to be a
for an
reason for
offset
them.
is to not get something, not get a structure too close to the lot line. That's the only goal of that's the
And it's
only goal
and
of
it
an offset.
and it's different on the sides from the rear and the front.
You don't want that, you don't want a house too close to the front yard. For some reason, sideline offsets are always less than a rear offset. But typically, what I'm seeing is that sides and rears are more or less identical. So, I mean, I feel like with the 50 is too much. Like I said, Hanover's got a 40, 40 is too much. I still feel 30 is too much.
Reality is, right now, you got 100 feet of space between your back door and the person living behind you. You shrink that down to 15 feet, you only got 30 feet from your back door to the next guy's back door. And if you're in the R2 and you're gonna put the parking back there, you're not gonna have the backup. Because parking spaces have to be 18.
Yeah, they don't have to be, see, but that's a different story. That's parking. We're not talking,
Right, but
we're not talking
You get-
the parking's 10 feet.
Right, and you need it,
I definitely could see us being
what do you need to
less
turn the turning
flexible on
radius?
parking.
Yeah, I just thought of something. What about a setback for the parking?
Still 10 feet.
Gotta be a 10-foot buffer, right?
Yeah,
But
that's the
then-
setback. Yeah, so parking has the setback. I mean, I'm not worried, I'm not worried about. This is just it's not accessory use structures because the accessory use structure is still 5 feet, which I don't get. But again, you know, we're talking attached decks, additions, swimming pools, anything that the building inspector considers a structure. You know, those that doesn't have a minimum offset like the accessory use structures. You know, something that would be considered a primary part of the structure. And again, that's the swimming pool, that's your deck, that's a porch, that's an addition. Again, 30 feels too much for me because that unfortunately takes into consideration the pools and stuff like that. Now, if you only wanted to cure the pool situation, then you come up with a specific offset for a pool.
If you only had 15 feet, you couldn't put anything in your backyard.
If you want, so
A pool, a 24 or 18-foot round pool wouldn't fit.
okay, so if I've got a lot with a house on it, and I want to build an addition that goes so far that it's 15 feet from the lot line, I'm coming close to the lot cover, you know, to the lot coverage, to the building coverage percentage. So this is where all of that starts to come into play. You know, these little tiny lots. Let's look at these little tiny lots. You know, we say, okay, here's your 15-foot offset. You know, go at it. They put an addition on that's going to double the size of the house. Well, now you're running into lot coverage issues. So it's like, that's why there's different aspects to the zoning. That's why there's different aspects to those individual numbers.
We reduced the rear setback, would that have to increase the lot, build the maximum buildable area of the lot?
Would we have to increase that?
Yeah.
No,
Or decrease it?
no, we wouldn't have to change it.
That's like you still have the 10,000 square foot.
Yeah, exactly. So in the grand scheme of things, we're giving people a little bit more ability to do something by right, as opposed to having to come to us for section 6 finding or a variance or something like that. It's just it makes it a little bit easier for the homeowner that wants to put an addition on that isn't gonna, it isn't gonna, screw with the lot coverage. It's gonna make things a little bit easier. Just the thought. Those are two things that I thought about. Has anybody else got anything that they wanted to talk about when it comes to, zoning thoughts? I know we were gonna, Steve, what do you got?
Got a question. The rule about the 110 rule, is that Massachusetts law? Is that Rockland bylaw? Is that the rule of thumb that you make consistent rulings so you
That's
don't,
our bylaw.
violate a precedent?
That's our bylaw.
That's our bylaw.
Yep.
Okay, so the town of Rockland decided that.
Long time
Okay,
ago.
so we could change that if we chose to, but we could change that if the town decided to. If whoever has
Oh,
the
yeah.
power in the town to change it.
Yeah,
could change
that's
that kind of
that's our thing. Yep.
It
Alright.
actually was changed a
Okay,
while ago.
okay, so a lot of properties. So my thought was that a lot of properties are generally near similar sized properties, just in generally, not 100%. So if you are an R2, but you're in a smaller lot, like say you're in a 25,000 square foot instead of 32,000. And I know you don't want to do math, but would we be able to do some sort of formula or allow something that says your offsets can be smaller because your property size is smaller? Like if you're in a 25,000 square foot, you're nearly 3/4 of the size. Could you maybe be 35 feet off the rear, or 38%, 38 feet off the rear, if that's 3/4, something of that effect. We have bylaws with math in it. I just thought, could we consider that? And generally the properties nearby would be near the same size. And if they're condensed, they'd be pretty similar if they decide to go that way. Is that a
Can I
possibility?
ask a quick question? So, do you mind if I just ask you a quick question? I'm sorry, I'm just trying to take some notes.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm
Are
fine.
you recommending, are you recommending that we look at like more of like a 50% lot, like doing it by a percentage of lot size coverage rather than like, am I hearing you right?
That's the way I'm leaning. Some sort of ratio to minimum
thank
size lot, and you have a smaller than minimum size lot, you could have a smaller setbacks.
Thank you.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, you
It's an
reduce.
idea.
Again, that's targeted more. That's targeted to. That's targeted to pre-existing non-conforming lots.
I see what you're saying. So you could say like, for every foot of building, you could lose X number of inches off the back. Your lot line.
Something like that.
All right, so I got one better for you. Here's the ratio. The 25,000 square foot lot. All right. Divided by the minimum requirement is 32,670 square feet. That lot is 76%. of what the required is. So basically 76, so the offsets, you could get away with 76% of the required offset. That's what you're saying.
That's the direction I'm going in. Yeah, so maybe you'd have a 38-foot rear setback, an 11 or 12-foot side setback, and, you know, a 19-foot front setback, maybe a 19-foot front setback, you know, gives you the flexibility for that. And no flexibility on the parking requirement.
Don't make it sound like, don't make it sound like you're guessing here, Steve. You already did this math.
I'm-
Don't make it sound like you're guessing.
Well, I'm just saying
Yeah.
that's the math based on. That's the rough, that's the general numbers based on that 25,000 foot. Like you said, 76%. 38 is 76% of 50, 11.4 is 76% of 15, 19 is 76% of 25. I'm just saying, like, you know, it as long as 11.4 is okay, it feels good. It feels reasonable and flexible for homeowners. And we might have to slide it. We maybe, you know, maybe we'd still say you have to put 12 foot or round up, you know, round up to the foot or something, or
Baker
round up to
Jr.,
the
would,
next
I see
5
you-
foot length or something.
Mr. Baker Jr., did you raise your hand?
I did, just to Steve's point. I think if we're going to make changes or are contemplating making changes that are going to treat similarly zoned properties differently, then we need to supply an underlying rationale for doing that. And a percentage like Steve discussed, I think makes sense in that regard.
But again, this is only, obviously, this is only to pre-existing non-conforming lots.
Correct. Those who don't meet the minimum lot size. Generally. It might be a non-conforming shape. Maybe there's something else there, but I'm still thinking just minimum lot size. That's my first simple thought. And you already have a thing about non-conforming shapes. You do things where the shapes are wild. I mean, I know there's avenues there.
So this is for setbacks to existing non-conforming lots only,
Basically,
right?
it would have to be, because it would have to go the other way if you were already conforming. You would have to have big-
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think it has merits. But, and we talked about how you could have a setback that would have like an oddball number, like, you know, it could come out to be 11.62 feet. What we could do is we could say, all right, an existing non-conforming lot that's undersized by, you know, let's say 75 to 80%, or maybe 70 to 80%, your setbacks are X, and establish the reduction of that. If it's between 70 and 80, the setbacks are a different number, you know,
too much
less.
math. You're going too far, too much math.
Well,
Yeah,
all you're doing is you're determining the reduction in area as a percentage, and then there's a bracket that'll say, you know, 50 to 60%. Front yard rear is this.
I'm better. I'm thinking. I'm more liking what Steve said. Just come up with a single percentage.
Yep.
And whatever the
Yep.
percentage is, you multiply your offsets by that, and that's what your required offset's going to be. And you round up, not
Yep.
down.
And I still think we should have some minimum, like even that adjusted offset should have some minimum. You know, I mean, we
Still
still need to
not
be able to
be
get
less-
service trucks around the back of a house and stuff, you know?
You could
Something like
say
that.
not less than 20 feet. of
Yeah,
rear
like,
set-
yeah, something like, at least, you know, like the side, you might say one side has to be a minimum of 10 feet, or one side has to be a minimum of something, you know, like I'm always thinking getting a service truck to the backyard, septic tank or, you know, leaching field, or I don't know what the heck, you know, or anything.
You don't have to worry about leaching field or septic tank. I think there's 5 septic systems in the town of Rockland.
I don't know. Yeah, but I just mean like, whatever, like if they have to do something.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it, yeah, like, we have the minimum on the 110 rule. We have that, we have the 8 foot on the 110 rule. Yeah, I don't mind that. So at no time, the minimum side setback would be less than, could be no less than 8 feet. And then.
And the rear setback,
Hmm?
the rear setback would have to be a no less than X.
I would say no less than 15, but I mean, it's, like I said, it's all dependent on the pre-existing lot size. The non-conforming lot size. It's always gonna be dependent on that. Yeah. So that's really what it comes down to. And if you had to average it out, if you had to come down to some sort of average of all the smaller lots. Again, you're looking at lots through the 2 big subdivisions. Winter Circle, some of them in the Winter Circle area. You could comfortably say like 17, between 17 and 20,000 square feet.
Ooh.
Those were all PUDs, so.
Not, well, the last 2 that I was talking about, but you're looking at, and Wyman's Field wasn't a PUD.
No,
Right, so Wyman's Field, again, you're only looking at anywhere from like 15, let's say 15 to 20,000 square feet. Those are small
Wow.
lots.
if that.
Yeah, same thing with Nevin, so you got Nevin Circle, same thing with Nevin Circle. Everything off of the Belmont Pacific and Reeds. Yeah. Yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind the ratio for the pre-existing non-conforming. I don't mind that. And again, sides, if you're using the ratio, no less than, let's say 10 feet for the side setback. And if you're using the ratio, no less than 20 foot for the rear setback. But that's pre-existing non-conforming. It would still be nice to come up with something better than a 50-foot rear offset. I find that extremely excessive. But I ain't building a house anytime soon, so I'm not worried about it. I find that from a homeowner's standpoint, I find that very, very excessive. Especially seeing as though if someone wanted to put a pool in and that had to be 50 foot off, in most cases, you wouldn't get that either. So. But the ratios that are for the pre-existing non-conforming lots, I would back the ratio end of it.
Think it'd be easier.
It kind of would be, it kind of would be, as long as it was explained well in the bylaw, as long as it was explained well, I think it could work. Because the thing is that I know we have the 110 rule for the side offset. Have we ever dealt with an average an average front offset? That sound familiar to everybody, to anybody? I've had to deal with it in other towns. Basically, you go through and you know, you know, the front offset, the required is 25, but you only want to be 23. But the houses left and right of you are 10 feet off the road. So if you take an average between the 10, the existing one on the left, one on the right, and yours, and then it comes up to like 17 or whatever whatever the number is. That's an average front offset, but I don't think we have that in our bylaw.
No, that's a modal alignment.
Yeah, we don't have anything like
No.
that. No, that's it. I've dealt with that in other towns, but I mean, it's still, that's still, that can be done technically for pre-existing non-conforming house locations. You could have a conforming lot when it comes to lot size. Your side offsets and your rear offset could be fine, but your front offset could be well under the 25. What did we deal with? Was that Pine Haven Circles?
Yep. Pine Haven Circle and Josh Gray too.
So, yeah, I think
And West Water Street.
West Water Street also. No, there
Yep.
you go. I mean, I think that
They wanted to
that
put
has
the
some merit.
in Green Street too. Remember the porch? The overhang? On
No.
Green Street.
No, but I mean, if you remember it, then it must be. It must be. I
Yeah.
just it had the ratio end of it has some merit, so that would be not modifying anything. That would be adding something to the bylaw. That would be adding I don't even know what to call it. I'll put that in Allison's department. She can figure that out. But that's not so that I don't mind. I'm giving you work, lady.
Sounds good.
I have a question for Allison.
Shoot.
Is there any way that we could get the Massachusetts Planning Council to give us a little talk? Mass
Sure.
area planning.
I think I lose part of what you were saying. I'm sorry.
To see
Can you hear
if
me
we
okay?
could get any kind of assistance from the Metropolitan Area Planning Council.
Yes, I can apply for a grant. I'm in the process of applying for a housing production plan grant, and I'm also in the process of applying for a comprehensive planning grant. And so this might be captured in the comprehensive planning grant. And so if I get that, MAPC would likely be the recipient, or the person who would facilitate some of this work for us. So I will keep you posted.
I know we used them when I was on the planning board.
Yeah, they're really good.
More homework.
No problem. They also published a lot of their work online for reference. And so I can kind of dig up some information on some of their past rezoning work, just so we have kind of like a compass to work from and decide, what path you guys want to move forward with.
All right, what else we got? We've talked to death about square footage and
right.
footage for the apartment, you know, for multi-families or two families and stuff. We talked about offsets. What else?
My pet peeve. Use variances.
Can
took
we
them-
officially get rid of them? The question has been raised as to whether we can or cannot actually get rid of it.
We did it once before.
Okay.
And
I'm being told that we may not be able to actually get rid of it. I'm going to Allison. I've been told that we cannot necessarily get rid of it.
I don't know that we can deny someone the opportunity to come before the zoning board of appeals. We did pose that question to Bob Galvin, I believe. And so I have a meeting scheduled, like a Zoom meeting with him coming up, and I will raise it again to see if he knows off the cuff. But I will get back.
we took use variances out in the late 80s. And they were out for probably 15 years. And then the previous zoning board put it back in at town meeting. We voted out at town meeting.
Yeah, I think it would have to go to town meeting to
Right.
have it basically taken out of our hands.
No, and that's not it. That's not the question. The question is, can we actually do it? I know we did it before. But was it actually legal and is that why it actually had to go back in?
No.
That's the question that's being raised right now. We know how to do
I
it.
can
We know
find
how
that
to.
out.
The Attorney General,
I will have an answer for you by the next hearing.
I hear where Bob was going. The Attorney General wouldn't have approved it if we couldn't have done it.
right. And it was out for 15 years before it was put back in.
Yep, it could have been if it was a lawsuit and it set precedent and, you know, I'm not sure, but I will find out.
Well, I want it gone. If it's feasibly possible and we can do it legally, I want it gone. And I think most people agree with that. So
If not, we gotta look at the criteria for a use variance and stiffen it up so hard that
can't do that. Can't do that. I hear what you're saying. Can't do that, but you know, we'll talk about that at another point. But we can, the point is that we can make it more strict. We can make the criteria for obtaining a use variance more strict than it already is. Yes? Okay.
Rob, one of the things that might be helpful is while we're kind of exploring, you know, with MAPC, if I'm able to kind of last minute get a grant, or if this is something get picked up in the next grant cycle, the language of like what uses are allowed, and you know, people seek use variances because generally, you know, I hear what you're saying and I agree with that. I think maybe thinking about the use tables and are there new uses that we aren't capturing, and maybe is that why people are asking relief rather than like, you know, someone who wants to stick a residential use in a commercial space, which is like typically a flat no because it's bad practice. Does that make sense?
The ones that we've been getting are, when it comes to use variances, Center Street. They wanted a use variance to put a second family in an R2 zone. Can't give them a use variance because it's a by right use. They just couldn't do it because it's square footage. You know, you got a use variance to put two buildings on the same lot on Forest Street in two different zones. Can't do it. It's not allowed.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I'm making sense. So
yeah,
Rob, if I'm
I agree
hearing
with
right,
Bob.
maybe-
Use
yeah,
variances.
no, would it be
No.
helpful if I created like a little data set and maybe looked at other municipalities, what their lot size requirements are, what their setback requirements are? And maybe I could share that with all of you. And then, in our next CBA hearing or the one after, we'll have time to absorb it. And then it becomes kind of like a point of reference. So these conversations are at least like, helpful. So you understand what everyone else is doing.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. If you get it to us before the meeting too,
Will do.
that would be good. What else we got? Nobody likes use variances, so I knew that was coming. What else we got? Greg is rubbing his head. That means he's tired. Mr. Baker Jr. is smiling. So that means he's still paying attention, but wants to go to bed. Anybody got anything else?
Nothing pertaining to the bylaws. But and it's happened several times in this meeting and generally comes up in our meetings. The use of the word precedent.
Okay.
Would it be possible to ask Attorney Galvin to provide us with a little bit of guidance as to the general parameters of what does and what does not constitute precedent?
Sure.
And I don't know if there's a difference between zoning board of appeals precedent and general legal precedent, or they are essentially the same thing. But I think we need to come to a clear understanding of what constitutes precedent, because I think sometimes we're reluctant to take action or not take action based on what we perceive as setting precedent, when in all likelihood it doesn't.
I hear what you're saying.
I think Bob is right. We should have it in as a definition in our rules and regulations.
I don't even know if it needs to be codified to that degree, but just so we have a common understanding of what it is and what it isn't.
Well, then if someone was looking through they would know what we mean by it. Most people say precedent, they say, oh, we've done that for years. But if we had it, like you said, a definite definition of it, and what constitutes it.
Couldn't hurt. I mean, I've always looked at it as having an exact, or at least a very similar set of circumstances calls for a similar result. But it's how many times do we run into an exact set of circumstances and what actually is a very similar set.
And that I agree with, because when I think about it, I think of the applicant coming to us saying, well, you let that guy do it, why can't I? Same circumstance, blah, 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 blah.
But they're generally not the same circumstance.
Yeah, see, that's the point. Generally, in you can point out in a lot of situations why, yeah, you can point out that they're not identical situations, but it's there are definite ways to deal with it. So I hear what you're saying, and I don't see that being a bad thing. It would be nice if we had some sort of, legal representation on that end. So maybe either Deb or Allison could put a bug in Bob's ear. That would be cool. And Steve was raising his hand.
I have a
Will do.
Yeah. I just want to throw out in support of Mr. Baker Jr.'s question, open conversation. I understand the definition of president, and I get and I agree with what Rob said. And I'm wondering about precedent and how much we have to worry about it in our deliberation and how much we have to worry about it in the written decision. Because I know that like Deb will type up the decision or, formally document the decision, to sum up the conversation, but it's not absolute verbatim. So I was just wondering where we have to be careful about crossing the line into precedent. So no, like is it in deliberation? That's just, just to know where we need to be cautious. Because I know it gets hammered out in the decision when it gets typed up. That's my only open question, and I will leave it there.
Reasonably understood. So that's that again, we're gonna throw that at Attorney Galvin.
Yep, Deb and I will take care of getting all these questions to him and getting some clarity on, precedent in land use, precedent, local difference, and we're referring to it.
I just don't want to be I don't ever want to be in the position where some guy, finds another case where we made a decision and we allowed a guy to do something. And he comes up with almost pretty much the same scenario with minute differences and says, well, you allowed him to do it. I should be able to get it too. Because that's what that's what I always look at. So, however Bob says that we can avoid that, the better. That's all I care about. I just don't want to get I don't want to get in a major battle during a meeting when the guy starts going, well, what about this address? And what about this address? And what about this address? You let him, and him, but you're targeting me now.
Yeah. But that's kind of my point, Rob. You'll always find differences.
Yeah, but then then you'd have to argue the minute versus material differences. You'd really have to start really hammering home and whatever it is. I want to know what the definition myself is. I just don't want to ever get into that situation where I'm arguing, well, you let him, why can't I? And I don't want to get into that. So that's the one thing that I've always wanted to just avoid, 100%. So.
Yep, I get that.
What else we got? What else we got? Anything else we want to talk about? Hearing none, we'll go back to the agenda here. I see non-deliberative announcements and scheduling. Deb, did you want to talk about anything? Can't hear you, Nana.
I know, I have nothing.
You got nothing?
Oh.
You got a grandchild though that probably not everybody knows about.
I know, I was just FaceTiming him for the first time.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
She is officially Nana, so
I'm
we can
officially
congratulate Nana.
Thank you.
Is this your first, Deb?
Yes, it is.
It is the greatest gig in the world.
It's awesome. It's amazing.
So
all the fun and absolutely none of the responsibility.
I know, I'm already planning our date nights.
Nice.
When
I
Mom
just
and
want to
Dad
make sure
get
we
a
announce
night.
that. All right, what else we got? So non-deliberative, anything else, any items not reasonably anticipated? Anything else we want to talk about?
You were supposed to put on the be doing the board.
Oh yeah, Deb, when can we get that put on?
You can do
We're
it like
supposed to do that in like May or something, right? Or not
Well,
May.
we usually do it like the first meeting in July, but I can do it. You can do it. We can do it.
July.
Yeah, we haven't done, you said, I feel like we haven't done it in a while, but you said we did that last year.
We did it last year and the year before. Yeah,
You did? All right.
I swear. Because we do that the same time that we do the signature authority form.
Okay. All right.
But we can,
Make-
want to put it on for June 4th and get it out of the way?
That would be fine. We can do that.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
does that screw anything else up?
No, it shouldn't, because it's just a
Yeah.
vote. And then,
In the
form.
signature things, it doesn't screw anything else with the signature things or anything like that? All right, cool.
No. Because it'll be effective. Well, we can make it effective July 1st, like
Okay.
fiscal year, whatever the next fiscal year is, 25, is it?
That's when, okay, that's why we were doing it up, because of the fiscal year. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever you wanted, whatever the board thinks. And I want to make sure that it's done. I feel like we haven't done it. Deb says that we have, and I trust her religiously. So, you know, I just want to make sure that we get it done and get it done sooner rather than later, so we don't forget it. If everybody's cool with waiting until July like we usually do, then I got no problem with that. For some reason, it got stuck in my head that we hadn't done it. But apparently, yeah.
Okay, tell me when, June or July?
Anybody? Wait till July? Stay consistent with what we've done in the past?
Sure, sounds good.
Okay.
The
Yeah,
first,
just
the
wait till
first
July.
weekend.
Yeah, everybody seems fine with that. So
All right,
just,
so we'll do it July 2nd.
yeah, just to stay and just keep it consistent with the way that we've done it. And now I'll remember that
Okay.
we're,
Sounds good.
what else we got? Anything?
I have nothing.
Entertain.
Motion to adjourn.
Karen, I need a
Second.
second. I got a second. Roll call, Mr. Tanzi.
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Mr. Baker Senior,
Yes.
Mr. Baker Junior,
Yes.
Mr. Galley.
Yes.
We're out of here. Thank
Have
you
a
for
good
coming,
night,
everyone.
everyone.
We'll
Thank you.